Hit only in areas that are of interest, and you're only going to use a minimal amount. Remember, minimal. Just spots here and there. Alright, and this one's pretty much done. I'm going to move on to another plant, show you guys something a little bit more complex maybe. There you go. The prickly pear. Remember, write down your notes. Alright, let's move on. Okay, guys, I'm going to do another demo for you, and this is going to be a bit more complex. The tree that I'm drawing is a palm, and it's at a very unique angle, sitting above water. You have a lot of different kinds of birds and animals around here. You know, lots of different elements going on. But again, my focal area is going to be on the tree, coming into the landscape on the ground. I'll probably do a little bit of the water, and I'll probably include and indicate some of the birds. Now, the last demo that I did was more focused on one particular plant up close, learning more about the details, still about the forms. Here we're a little farther away. We're still doing, you know, a single plant, but it's much larger. So it might seem a bit intimidating at first, but get that out of your head. You know, it doesn't matter how big it is or how small it is, it's all the same. It's only simple forms. And I'm still going to approach this tree just like I do with any other thing I draw, which is going to be with those 5 shapes. With this palm tree, when you look at it, there are 2 forms that I'm seeing here. One is a cylinder, which is a trunk. The other is a giant sphere or ellipse, which is the palm itself. So I'll start this one out real quick for you. Again, starting out extremely simple, including some of my contours. Remember, adjust as you go. If you feel you've misjudged some of the shapes that you've included, make the changes as you go along. Include some of the background, and I'll just kind of frame this in. Indicate some of the birds here. Just keep in mind that you're only building with shapes, and you'll be fine. Take it slow if you have to. Now that I've kind of laid it in with the marker, I'm going to go in with the 0.3, reinforce some of those shapes that I've already done. I'm going to this trunk here. Now the trunk has a lot of surface detail. A lot of the bark that's peeling away. There's a distinct pattern that goes along. And again, focal points, areas of interest that you want the eye to go to, which is probably going to be in this area right here where the base of the trunk is meeting the ground, the dirt. I'll keep a lot of the detail in there. I'll indicate all the leaves. There's a lot of palm leaves coming down, and you might wonder, okay, how do I handle something like that? There's just so much detail. The things that are in the foreground, the leaves that are coming towards you, are the ones you want to pay attention to. The ones in the back or the rear are only going to be silhouette. So I've already made an overall shape of the ellipse, which is what those palms are making. Now I'm just going to create a silhouette of it within the ellipse, and it's just a silhouette. You don't have to be accurate. You're not a camera, so you're not trying to copy exactly what you're seeing. You're translating. So you're seeing it, breaking it down, and basically taking the information that you have and putting it down on paper as best you can. You don't want to try to sit there and hit every single little leaf and branch that you can. It's all about indication. Now I'm going to just hit some of the more palms that are coming towards me with more detail. But again, I'm going to be quick about it. Just indicate. I'm doing the overall shape of the fern as well. Ferns and palms, or any kind of leaf that you see around you, has a center line to it. So you have one line, this is your center line, the shape that goes around it. And if this was a palm, then I'd indicate the palm leaves. It's that simple. Continue just to indicate. Hitting the mass shapes first. Don't go into detail just yet. Details come last. Getting some of the volume, the contours. I'm going to go into the landscape here, the dirt and the mud. Alright, I'm going to hit some of these dark patches here where a lot of the dirt and shadows are, and reinforce some of those shapes, kind of indicating where I want to come back and detail those spots. When you have the basic forms put in, it's kind of nice to kind of make them geometric in a way where you're separating the two to make them look quite graphic, kind of like real black and white almost. But that's just with the line. But then we'll come back with a lot of the cross hatching and kind of give it a much more better blend to, with each other. I'm going to hit this goose real quick, and I'm not going to put in all the birds and the animal life that I'm seeing in here. I just want to put one in here just to add a little better composition. I'll start to indicate more of the background here, the water, the reflections, the shadows. I'm going to jump to a 0.5 here, and using a darker pen, I'm going to start to pull out a lot of the surface detail, the texture work, things like that on the trunk itself. Now the trunk is pretty complex in its texture and detail, so for me and for you guys, you got to start to learn how to simplify, reinterpret what you're seeing with your eyes and making it easier to read and simplify it on paper. It's not an easy thing to do, but again, this is more practice than anything else. Patterning, any kind of unique texture work, you really do have to organize. Make it easier to read for yourself, make it easier to read for the person who's looking at the sketch. And as you can see, I'm not going to detail the entire trunk. There's curvature to this trunk, so a lot of detail work I'm going to put into the shadow area. Alright, let's go back up into these palms, and I've already kind of indicated what's there, and let's just really go back, kind of like we did with the textures, a couple weeks ago, really add some of that texturing gradation and really flesh these out. And like I said before, I'm just pulling out the ones in the foreground, adding a bit more attention to detail, and making them stick out. Let's go in and start to really pull out these dark shadows. Add a bit of cross-hatching, line work into the areas where the dirt is, and really start to gradate. Again, remember, just keep gradating, and don't fill it in completely, just dark. Now I'll be jumping from spot to spot, and I tend to like to do this where, I'll spend
a little bit of time in one spot, but then I tend to get bored, and I like, if something else catches my eye that I want to attack, I'll do that. So it's always nice to just hop around a bit. Getting into more of the shadows, and I'm going to fill in this background here, because with the palm, the shadows are on the bottom end, and there's a lot of the light coming from the top, so I kind of want to separate those two elements. I'm going to just push that back a little bit by adding a bit of line work. I'm going to the water here, and again, there's shadows and reflections in the water as well, and I want to add value to that so that we have some separation. Just really quickly reinforce that box landscape, the frame, and bring in a value 5 marker and just kind of push those values back even more. Kind of pump up that contrast a bit. I'm going to hit up the background too, because there is a lot happening in the background, so I just don't want to leave that blank. So I'm just going to put a silhouette, a real simple silhouette of the the trees and the bushes and stuff that are in the back there, and it's going to be real simple. And of course we want the eye to come to the focal point, which is where a lot of the high contrast and the highlights are going to go, and make sure that's exactly where I want to put them. And this is going to be a style design choice where you can apply the white in a certain way to kind of frame your object or whatever you're drawing. Alright, we're almost done here. I'm going to take a 7 and just kind of pump up some of that form shadow, add a little bit more contrast just to bring that out a little bit. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Let's move on.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the demos. That was a pretty quick tour of the Arboretum. Again, go out yourselves. See what you can find, even if it's in your backyard. This is the homework for this week. 6 pages out of your book.